All right, peace. It's Bronzebird here with another video. Before I begin, like and subscribe. So something came over to my desk of content this week that I had forgot to record. It's been about like maybe a week or two ago. This video had came out about a police officer allegedly putting his hands on a woman during an arrest that was made in Harlem, New York. And so I thought about having this conversation for a while because so many people always say police brutality and, police act up and police do this. And I'm not saying that they are wrong when they make those statements. But I really do have to say is that a lot of people don't even realize that sometimes, or a good amount of the times, police misconduct may be forced upon someone when that person is forcing or being aggressive towards that police officer. My status quo, well, the thing that I would say is two wrongs don't make a right. I would say in this video, the person into question, which is the woman that got laid out, she had her part in what she did wrong, and so did the police officer. But of course, because you live in a world that's supposed to be catering towards the woman, the man is going to be objectified for his actions, not the woman. So we're going to go ahead and play this video. I'm going to give my commentary along the way and tell you what I'm thinking. So Pete.
We begin with a developing story tonight after video of an arrest in Harlem went viral.
It's had almost 30,000 views, and now residents are calling for an investigation into the NYPD. CBS 2's Dave Carlin live in Lower Manhattan with all the details. Dave.
And you know what's amazing about that? They're called as if NYPD ain't in no hot water already. And then you got a lot of NYPD officers just straight up quitting. Story of the goddamn year.
An officer whose actions are being investigated and a woman awaiting arraignment behind me, stemming from an incident with a video that people are talking about. This is the video posted to social media that shows a chaotic arrest.
God damn, did you see that? Let's play that again.
This is the video posted to social media that shows a chaotic arrest that you see get even more chaotic after this woman enters the frame. Identified as 19-year-old Tamani Crum, she confronts an officer as he arrested a man Crum reportedly knows. The woman engages the officer, appearing to slap him, and he responds with what looks like a wallop of a punch, causing her to fall backwards onto pavement.
Hit her with that, "Shut up, bitch!"
You see her get picked up off the ground and taken into custody. Here is Crum's grandmother.
He knocked her out. He's no better than the people who's knocking people out in the street.
Crum's mother, who asked we not use her name and who did not make any public comments, sobbed as she stood next to the family's lawyer, Jamie Santana.
I'm here with the mother of Miss Crum.
Right.
She's obviously very shaken and devastated by the assault that took place yesterday on her daughter. The officer involved in this case was approximately 3 times her body weight and size. This was
okay, and this is where we play politics, right? Now he's absolutely right about that. Girl is probably about 5'8", 5'9". The officer is about 6'1", 6'2". I'm just giving an estimate, right? So the thing about it is, he's absolutely right about the body size. But this is where I always say they're going to cater the story to make it look like the officer was wrong as a man, and then give the woman credibility in this situation because she was just trying to do her part. If you look at the video closely, she was the one being the aggressor in the attack. Now, I'm not sitting up there taking points for the officer, but the obvious thing is when you go ahead and you use aggressive force, someone's going to use that aggressive force back. You can see in the video that she was being aggressive towards the officer. So what happened? If you're going to go ahead and slap an officer, you don't think the officer is going to go ahead and react back? It gives him more problems because he has a badge, right? But if it was a normal person, right? If it was just some normal guy that was just like, yo, we having problems with such and such on the street, and she knows, Crum knows the guy or whatever, right? The guy that's getting arrested. and she goes ahead and slaps the innocent bystander, I guess, that's having an altercation with the guy, it still would have came out to the same outcome, but it wouldn't get news coverage like that. He would have been like, yo, why you put your hands on a girl for? Even though the girl is directly in the wrong for putting her hands on him. See, this is the problem when we have these conversations about police brutality, right? Because not everything that happens is police brutality. I need people to understand. Not everything that happens is police brutality. And that's what a lot of these Black lesbian matter people get wrong. You understand? And then they try to point the finger and say, it's always the cops, it's always the cops. I'm not here to protect the cops. I'm here to give an actual or shed light on exactly what's going on. Do I say the cop was right in this situation? No, I don't believe he was right in going ahead and putting his hands on it. But I know how NYPD officers are. They are aggressive as hell. They do not give a fuck. they have no problem going ahead and putting their hands on somebody and going ahead and slapping the shit out of you if you sit up there and put your hands on them. They do not care. So, I mean, people who live in New York, y'all want to talk all this shit about, oh my God, he did that. I'm like, you know how many times police officers then sat there, did something wrong to somebody and didn't give a fuck about it? I mean, that shit is the usual. But I need this to be an honest conversation. A woman was in the wrong. Absolutely. And, you know, you get a lot of like, this is what I see out a lot of these Gen Z kids anyway. A lot of these Gen Z kids want to be rebellious against cops and just say, fuck the cops for no reason when a cop is walking across the street, or antagonize them and they in Dunkin' Donuts or something like that, man. It's crazy.
Necessary. And it's unacceptable. This has to stop.
The incident was on West 136th Street Tuesday around 5 p.m. NYPD sources tell CBS 2 there will be an investigation, but the officer's actions appear justified. The initial arrest was in a case of attempted murder, and police say the suspect, 22-year-old Elvin James, allegedly had a loaded gun at the time. Crum is charged with assault on an officer, obstructing government administration, and resisting arrest. We had the video looked at by Keith Taylor, a professor in the Department of Law, Police Science, and Criminal Justice Administration at John Jay College.
Pause. So the thing about it is, this is where you need to mind your own motherfucking business. That's the problem. The problem is that the misconduct comes in with the woman who decided to go ahead and put her hands on the officer when making arrests, when obviously the criminal or suspect was wrong. Having a gun on him and attempted murder. So if it was attempted murder, how you going to get mad at the fact of the matter he getting arrested? And you know what usually happens after that? They go ahead and they have that hashtag free my nigga or hashtag free my mans and stuff like that, or wearing these chains around their neck when they obviously know the dude did something wrong. There's no accountability when it comes to that. And I think that's still because the fact of the matter that even when it comes to so-called Black people in general, so-called Black people, Latinos, Hispanics, whatever you want to call it, Afro-Latino, doesn't matter. Their whole entire thing is emotions first. I got to protect my mans. I got to protect my friend, even though they could be dead wrong when it comes to what they did. So how are you going to go ahead and try to think that if you fight against an officer, that the officer is going to take the cuffs off the dude that's getting arrested? It's not how it works. You would know that.
When he was at NYPD, he supervised internal affairs, missing persons, and more. He calls this incident
awful but lawful. She's actively engaging, which is in this case assaulting the officer, and he responds in kind. We need to let the investigators do their job and see all the additional information.
And ironically, officers will say that to the people who is being aggressive towards them. They be like, hey, let me do my job. Let me do my job. But with stuff like this, the quiet quitting, the great resignation, and all this other stuff, you can inspect the whole entire way of officers being with police, regular individuals and citizens every day to cease. I mean, look at one of my videos. One of my videos was talking about NYPD AI dogs that's coming out in the force now. First is going to be AI dogs. Then it's going to be those traffic stoppers. There's going to be a robot being able to go ahead and take care of tickets. Then when it comes to police officers, you can bet your bottom dollar it's probably going to be like one of those AI movies back in the 90s, early 2000s, or Will Smith's I Am Legend, except for he ain't going to be slapping the shit out of Chris Rock. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that this story can take place, but my honest opinion about this is aggressive force equals aggressive force. And my thing about it is that who's teaching these children to calm down when it comes to police? We all been there. We've all had that talk about how to conduct ourselves amongst police. There's always a way out of situations like that. But if someone's in the wrong and obviously they did the crime, they have to be arrested. I don't understand what's the problem with that. You can't change that. You can't just switch up the order because that's your friend. It is what it is.
Additional video, including officer body cameras, will be part of this investigation. As for Crum, her arraignment is expected sometime tonight. Live in Lower Manhattan, Dave Carlin, CBS 2 News.
Dave, thank you.
It's time to say goodbye to a
And that's it for the video. But, you know, her arraignment that's going to come in, what I can probably guess for this situation more than likely is the officer is probably going to be let off. He'll probably get a warning or reduced duty while on a job. Who knows? But my whole entire point of making this video is that people need to be careful out there, minding others' affairs, especially when it comes to officers. If you do not know the situation, you have no reason jumping in it. A lot of people do forget that. But of course, when it comes to that woman's nature, emotions rule first. And I'm not going to blame the fact of the matter that she's Gen Z, but it's just that the whole entire mentality is act now, think later, right? And especially it reminds me of what happened the other day. I was walking around and I saw this young brother. He seems to be probably 20s at most, early 30s, right? And I saw this young brother just yelling at these cops on the street and just like, you know, just going off on a tangent. He's like, "What you talking about, my nigga? Fuck out of here," and all that other stuff, you know, the whole entire New York slang. And so the officers didn't even act aggressive towards him. It was just the fact that one of his friends or one of his relatives was in a car and they just screamed out. He just screamed out. He just screamed out. And the officers was like, "You don't need to talk to me like that. We don't need to do that. We don't need that." It's like, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. We act with emotions first. We don't think logically. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, there's always a way to have conversations with officers. This is not saying that I don't believe that police brutality doesn't exist. It definitely does exist. I know for sure that I might have been in a situation or two where I was in the right and police officers did actually bother me. And that was primarily more than likely in the stop and frisk days. After that, you know, they became more cautious probably after 2014 when they had the whole entire interview that got posted up on YouTube about they wanted NYPD officers to meet status quos and was targeting so-called Black and so-called Latinos in the inner city communities. Then, of course, what happened down after, well, a lot of these things happen with the police officers, right? Especially after George Floyd, made the police think twice. Relative training, all these different things to not discriminate against so-called people of color. And my whole thing at the end of the day is know exactly what you're getting yourself into. Think before you act. Peace.